Harvard University has resisted Trump before. In fact, the last time was less than 5 years ago. On July 6, 2020, Trump's Department of Homeland Security issued a new policy which would prioritize for deportation any international student who was not taking a minimum number of in-person classes. Within 48 hours of the new policy dropping, Harvard and MIT announced a lawsuit against DHS. I was at MIT at the time, and the feeling in the air was just magical. Though normally bitter rivals, for that 1 week, everyone at Harvard and MIT was on the same side. The side of, we hate DHS! Harvard and MIT's lawyers argued that the new rule violated the Administrative Procedure Act for several reasons. Universities had spent several months drafting plans for COVID-safe instruction in fall of 2020. All the while relying on March 2020 dispensations from ICE that international students would be allowed to take classes remotely, quote, for the duration of the emergency. There was no evidence of reasoned decision-making behind this sudden dramatic change in policy. The pandemic was still raging in Massachusetts, and a sudden switch to in-person instruction would needlessly expose many people to risk. For many grad students, it would be impossible to perform their research duties remotely from another country, and conditions in many other countries made remote teaching impractical to impossible as well. We graduate student leaders gathered testimonies from undergrads who relied on international grad students for instruction, and researchers whose work would be severely disrupted by the sudden disappearance of their coworkers, as well as international grad students who would be unable to complete graduation requirements or take post-completion internships that they had already secured under OPT. The hearing a week later was anticlimactic because the government had already agreed to drop the new rule right before the hearing. So, as I understand it, Harvard and MIT effectively won, but without the court having to issue a ruling in one direction or another. I wonder if Trump and his cronies took as a lesson from this incident that the next time they messed with university researchers, they needed a pretext that some laypeople would sympathize with. And then potentially they found that pretext in all of these trumped-up charges of anti-Semitism. Because if there's one thing I feel fairly certain of right now, it's that this administration does not actually care about defeating anti-Semitism.